Welcome to Legislative Report with your state representative, Joe Emrick of the 137th District in Northampton County. I'm your host, Herb Logan, and with me is Representative Emrick. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Herb. It's great to be here.
I want to have you talk to your constituents about your first budget address. You've been now through that. Governor Corbett delivered his spending plan to lawmakers and to the state residents as well. Your first general impression?
Well, I think it's got some good points right off the bat. I think the fact that the governor's cut spending is excellent. It's something that the taxpayers have called for overwhelmingly. It's a no tax increase budget, which I think is excellent. I also like the fact that the governor has really proposed a budget that's focused on new job creation and economic growth. So.
Very good. I need to ask you, because you have a background in education, there were some changes made in the education area. Do you want to talk about those at all?
Sure. I think, one of the concerns obviously I have as a teacher is the fact that, education funding has been cut and the degree it's been cut. I think that there's a pretty serious concern among the rest of the Republican caucus as well. Also the fact that, I think it's important that people realize that for the last 2 years, the budget was based on temporary stimulus money from the federal government. So the state actually has increased its state portion of funding from, I believe, $4.7 billion to $5.2 billion. It's just that we saw a loss of about $630 billion from federal stimulus money that everyone knew was going to be temporary.
And some of that money from the federal government came with strings attached, which kind of forced schools to start new spending, which they really, at this point, now have to find a way to afford.
Yeah, from what I understand, I know Senator Scarnati had sent, and I think other parts of the legislature had sent letters to school districts, superintendents, school boards, explaining the temporary nature of that funding. And I think it's important, it was important that they were forewarned that this would be temporary, and really to put it for one-time purchases if possible, rather than creating new programs and additional long-term spending.
Now, obviously, this is not going to be the final state budget, and the House isn't there just to rubber stamp whatever the governor wants. What are the next steps?
That's correct. Well, I think it's important for people to know that this is really day one of a lengthy process, and the fact that the House and Senate will now begin to go through this budget line by line. It will begin to make its recommendations and its own changes to the proposed budget. I think one of the things that is a red flag for people is the fact that at its current state, the welfare department has really not been scrutinized yet, and I think a sharp pencil really should be taken to those line items to see what and where some changes can be made for the good, and to bring about, ending what people know, even the Auditor General had said, of the waste, fraud, and corruption that's taking place in that department.
You mentioned the overspending pattern of the last 8 years before you arrived at the House. Another disturbing pattern with the previous administration was a failure to pass the budget by its constitutional deadline. How focused are you and your colleagues in the House Republican caucus to make sure that happens this year?
Well, from almost day one when the freshman class got here, it had been to explain to us that one of the top priorities of leadership is to make sure that this budget is done on time. That they do not want this to go. In fact, I believe mid-May is a target date for something complete, which, knowing the process in Harrisburg, usually takes longer. That gives some extra time to complete it and still have it finished before the June 30th deadline.
Very good. Well, I know as this budget process moves along, you will keep your constituents informed in a variety of ways with what's going on and how decisions are being made. Real quick, you want to throw your website out so people know how to get in touch with you?
Sure. It's repemrick.com. That's our website. You can contact us at our legislative office in Mount Bethel, or you can contact our Harrisburg office if you have questions or need anything. And any questions on the budget, and we'll be happy to answer them. And I'm sure we'll be hearing and meeting with constituents quite a bit over the next several weeks.
Very good. Representative, thanks for giving us some of your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And that is all the time we have. If you have any questions for Representative Emrick, you can contact him at his district office, as he said, or through his website. That information will show up on your screen in just a moment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for Legislative Report with your state representative, Joe Emrick.